Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Church here in Plano, Texas. My name is Reverend Dr. Aija Deulm. I am the minister of this congregation. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I welcome all of you. It is so good to have folk singers with us. We have a very special Sunday today. It is our annual Music Sunday. So, not just folk singers, you will hear choirs sing. We all will sing. So it's celebrating the music and the power of music and how music can be a tool in our lives for many, many, many things, including social justice. Before I go into the theme for the service, I want to mention something that our music director, Reverend Pam McLain, will also speak today with us. We are so lucky to have her many gifts. She has grown our choir twice the size, if not tripled. But she is also ordained in a Methodist tradition. So this is why I'm using Reverend today for her, and we will be lucky to hear her speak today. The board decided to appreciate her many gifts that she's bringing and offer her a promotion. Starting in June, she will be our minister of music. That is, if you approve the budget, of course, today at the congregational meeting. So when Pam and I were planning this service, we were talking about the theme, and she says, why don't we do protest songs? Yes, so that's what we decided to do. Throughout history, music has been influential in many social justice movements. It had mobilized people, it had inspired them to make change, it had spoken directly into the inequalities that are in our society, and helped people unify, helped people survive the hardships and continue the journey of resistance, even when it is a long one and a difficult one. Today, it seems like our souls are screaming again in protest about many things, and we will look at what are the possibilities for church music in the future, in our future, and what music can offer us in these times. Wherever you are on your journey, you're welcome here. Our call to worship are some words that were adapted from Ma Theresa and Gustilo Gallardo. It involves a response from you. I will say a few words, and the reading is, when I change, the world changes. And these are the words that I will invite you to say together when I open my arms for you. Let's practice. When I change, the world changes. We are here to derive meaning in our actions. We are here to win our power back over our areas of powerlessness. We are here to deepen our understanding of ourselves in order to strengthen self-discipline. When I change, the world changes. We are here to abolish prejudice with an appreciation for our diversity and differences. We are here to feel our personal power and our capacity to affect the lives of other people. We are here to become teachers to each other We are here to spend time away from the usual influences and relearn reality. When I change, the world changes. When God gives me the desire, I am also given the power and means to achieve my goals. I am here to see that my singular life is a gateway to countless possibilities. When I change, the world changes. Let's worship together.
As Reverend Aija stated, and as some of you already know, I'm an ordained minister in the United Methodist Church. Excuse me, also very choked up. And I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to explain how that system works and what my place in it is. Until 1996, the United Methodist Church laws held that clergy who wanted to become parish ministers authorized to administer the sacraments of baptism and Holy Communion would be ordained twice. Very sketchy theology there, since ordination is supposed to be tied to baptism. But they're supposed to be ordained twice, first as a deacon, and then, usually after 2 years of residency serving one or more congregations, ordained again as an elder. Yeah. But the law changed. In 1996, the rules changed, and now instead of the deacon being a transitionary spot to becoming an elder, there are now 2 tracks from which candidates for ordination can choose, deacon or elder. Those on the deacon or diaconal track usually specialize in some area of ministry, such as education or music or missionary work, while the elder track is usually for those wanting to be lead pastors in local congregations. Candidates for ordination on either track may be commissioned after the bulk of their seminary education is complete and after they serve in a full-time appointment in a local church, usually for at least 2 years, and then they may be ordained a deacon or an elder. And in both systems, though, old and new, there are also many rigorous jobs to complete. Papers to be written and passed, meetings to attend, questions to answer, approvals to obtain. You know about this. Oh, yeah. After graduating from Duke Divinity School with a Master of Divinity and completing my candidacy work for ordained ministry, I was ordained a deacon in 1994. And I served 2 small churches in Winsboro, Texas, and then I was ordained an elder in 1996, right before the rules changed. And after my husband Scott and I married in 1997, I moved to his home state of Virginia. I served a small church in Danville, Virginia, which is at the bottom of the state, right on the North Carolina line. And so I was able to continue my education at Duke, and I received a Master of Theology in Preaching and Worship in 2000. And later that year, Scott and I moved back to Texas, and I decided to make a change in my vocation. I located, which is the term used for United Methodist clergy who step out of the appointment system whereby they are sent to local churches, but they want to maintain their ordination credentials. So I re-entered the world of music and musical theater, and I became an instructor, an accompanist, and a music director who occasionally preached or presided at weddings and funerals. But this long, wonderful, winding journey has brought me to CUUC, to community, and I couldn't be happier or more grateful. I especially thank Aija, the choir, the folk singers, Elena, and all the worship associates, and all of you for your presence and participation in this Social Justice Music Sunday. I know that in years past, Music Sunday usually hasn't had a theme, but I love a good theme. A continuous thread that just holds everything together. And believe me, it makes music selection and selection of guest musicians much easier. And I've tried to be environmentally responsible, and part of this message is going to be recycled. I was asked to make a very brief presentation at our NTUC joint anniversary celebration back in February? March, and about the future of music in the UUC. And so part of this is taken from that. For most of my life, I've tried to make social justice a priority. And one of the first inspirational acts of allyship that I witnessed was in my home church. When I was in middle school, the church hired a new organist and pianist who was absolutely phenomenal. She had her bachelor's and her master's in organ performance, and would later receive her PhD in organ pedagogy. I would sit in the choir loft and just watch her foot on those bass organ pedals. Just it was choreography. Yeah, it was just fascinating. She was smart. She was funny. She got along well with the choir director and the chancel choir, and became a good friend to my families. And she happened to be gay, which was known to the choir, but not so much to the larger church until several years later. And at that time, some members decided to make it an issue. And before too long, her future employment became a topic for discussion in the Staff Parish Relations Committee, which every United Methodist church has. Every church has a committee that decides who's going to work there and who's not going to work there. But during the discussion, one man asserted, "If you fire her, you will never find anyone more qualified to do the job." And that was one of the points that helped turn the tide of the discussion and the decision. And I'm delighted to say that the man who spoke on our organist's behalf was my dad. And I'm even more delighted to say that that organist remains on staff at my home church to this day. In some ways, being an advocate for social justice is a bit like playing whack-a-mole. You do what you can, but you always feel like there's more that you missed and more to do, especially nowadays. Because every day we're slapped in the face with the chaos of a nation in crisis. And that, coupled with the stress and the challenges of our own everyday lives, is nearing a dangerous threshold of having to choose. Do we tune out and just try to get through each day and hope for the best? Or do we come together and resist? If we choose the latter, music is a wonderful place to start. And UU churches have the opportunity to be lifeboats in these tumultuous seas. And music is a big part of our weekly services. When we sing together as a congregation or as a choir, we are banding together as a community to express musically how we feel about social justice and love and freedom and quality of life for all people, just as we are. We internalize the lyrics, We embody the melodies, which can range anywhere from reflective to defiant. And we feel the beat of the music and the warmth of our friends. We remind ourselves and each other who we are, what we stand for, and how we intend to interact in our communities, and that we don't have to accept that which we know is harmful to our world, and we can overcome it with community and with purpose. Take flocking, for example, a strategy that has been adopted by community. That means if an unwelcome vocal disruption happens somewhere in the church, we meet it by singing "This Little Light of Mine" all together, while the perpetrator is invited to vacate the premises. Another example is a few months ago, the United States Army Choir performed "Do You Hear the People Sing?" from the musical Les Miserables at the Governor's Ball at the White House. This was barely 24 hours after the abrupt firing of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Chief of Naval Operations, and the Vice Chief of Staff. Soldiers raised their voices together in the midst of a sea of political officials to vocalize lyrics of rebellion. Do you hear the people sing, singing a song of angry men? It is the music of the people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Somewhere beyond the barricade, is there a world you long to see? Then join in the fight that will give you the right to be free. We fight against authoritarianism by raising our voices together in a community to say, this is not who we are, and this is not what we want to be. In the words of poet Joan Walsh Angland, a bird does not sing because he has an answer. He sings because he has a song. Now more than ever, it is vital that we keep singing, not for competition, not for money, not for fame, not for glory, but because a sustainable and a just society depend on it in our nation and in our cities and towns. Earlier this month, funds that previously had been approved by the National Endowment for the Arts were frozen. Money that was provided or promised to various arts groups was essentially withdrawn. And there are at least 5 professional theaters in Dallas that rely on this money, but they've been affected, and they no longer have this money, but they've taken to social media and saying that in spite of this financial blow, they are determined to continue on with their seasons, however they can. In other words, Dallas Theater Center, Theater 3, Teatro Dallas, Kitchen Dog Theater, and Bishop Arts Theater Center are going to keep singing and keep operating their organizations with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the American Association of Colleges and Universities said it's going to keep singing as well. They are 150 schools strong. They are going to keep singing their song of constructive engagement in democracy, rather than to cave to the demands of the current administration. So it is with us. Here, at this place and time, we band together and we raise our voices and we keep singing. And that is what will carry us through these harrowing times and into a better future. With the beating of your heart, when the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Thank you.
So I'm not sure I can really add much to what you already heard today. I think Pam said it all. Music can be and is a powerful tool in building bridges, connecting people, connecting us emotionally, socially, culturally. Throughout various social justice movements, music has played a vital role in mobilizing, unifying people. It has helped raise awareness, challenge injustices, inspire change, help people survive various hardships, and continue on this journey of resistance. You're probably familiar with quite a lot of songs from these movements. For example, during the Civil Rights Movement, We Shall Overcome by Pete Seeger symbolized resilience and determination in the face of adversity. Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan became an anthem for the anti-war and civil rights movement, expressing a longing for peace and justice. I'm also sure you know ABBA's Dancing Queen, or I Was Born This Way by Lady Gaga, popular LGBTQ anthems these days. Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance was a very rich, symbolic, and figurative thing that used both messages, language, and physical symbols on the stage to convey messages about race, identity, and social justice. He employed visual metaphors, historical references, very strategic stage positions to challenge audiences to reflect on America's history and current state. There was Uncle Sam, a symbol of government that represents power and also historical complicity in racial and social injustice. Torn American flag that represents division of the nation. 40 Acres and Mule, a phrase that came before Not Like Us, is about the broken promises that followed emancipation. Many, many other visual symbols and images became a masterful blend of a musical performance, a visual storytelling, and social commentary. And throughout the symbolism and figurative language, he challenged audiences to confront the complexities of race, identity, and social justice in the United States. No wonder there was a grumpy comment on social media post that there was not a single white person on this performance. And we all know who that person was that posted, right? If you missed that symbolism, at least the performance evoked a response that challenged the status quo. In my country, in Latvia, songs became a tool for the fight for freedom from the Soviet occupation. At that time, I was a teenager when my people came together with no arms other than rakes and hay forks and songs, and decided to stand against the giant USSR military that rolled in with tanks and specialized military unit called OMON. We didn't have guns or ammunition or the numbers. The total number of Latvia's population is 2 million. But we had the resolve and we had music. Songs motivated people, brought them together, and reminded of what is important. And during this time, songs were everywhere. They saturated all cultural life expressing people's hopes and dreams for a free country. They sent petitions to God, and they united Latvians scattered across the world. And yes, there was a censure in music imposed by the Soviet regime. Yet some Latvian composers and musicians found ways to subvert censorship. They used various strategies from coded language to disregarding the directives. Coded language, for example, or ambiguous lyrics, allowed to convey messages that might otherwise be censored. For instance, a song that is a national symbol, Putvējiņi, in English, blow, wind, blow, is a simple song about the wind, but it can also be interpreted as a metaphor for the freedom and resilience of the Latvian spirit. Wind can represent something that cannot be controlled. And then during the Song and Dance Festival in 1985, when the Soviet authorities tried to remove the popular conductor Haralds Mednis and his song, The Castle of Light, from the repertoire, at the very end of the festival, the choir and the audience began to shout and request the song and the composer. The performance carried on the air, live, on the television. Later, it was, of course, cut from all the recordings. But imagine an outdoor stage filled with more than 12,000 singers. 12,000 singers performing as one choir and singing a song about the rebirth of free Latvian nation. I'm still emotional whenever I talk about this. The people took courage to stand against the oppressor, and what followed was a resistance movement that led to Latvia's independence. The same happened in Estonia and Lithuania, and this is why the academic sources refer to this Baltic state fight for independence as a singing revolution, a term that was coined by an Estonian activist, Heinz Walk. Holding a music instrument in your hands feels very different than holding a gun. And yet, there is such power in music. And this power is undeniable. Yes, it can also be negative. Some music can hurt our mood, lead to depressive state and more aggressive behavior. Lyrics can also be damaging when they evoke violence, toxic masculinity, and disregard for the other person. The choice is ours. We get to decide which music we choose to have as part of our lives and how we want to use this powerful tool. So I leave you with this one final thought, which is more like questions for you. What music has moved you the most? Has inspired you to take action? How can you use music to take positive difference in your life and in your community? What is your melody of social justice? Amen. As we go forth, I offer you this blessing, benediction by Don Skjei Cooley. Let us go into the world singing. Let us go out into the world singing songs that proclaim liberty, songs that turn ashes into garlands, songs that bind up the afflicted and those who mourn, songs that, like oaks, have roots that go deep and stand strong. Let us go out into the world singing. We know these songs. They vibrate through time in our very souls. These are the songs that give us life. These are the songs that give us meaning. These are the songs that give us purpose. Now it is our turn to take these life-giving songs out into the world. Let us go now, singing these songs with voices deep and strong. And may the world join us in praise and in celebration and in love. Amen.